Hi and welcome to everything you need to know about Studio One 5.2. It's Russ Hughes. I'm joined by PJ Gibbs and Brent March, who is really going to take the lion's share. We're just going to grill him and see how well he's actually done his research on this. But anyway, there's 30 new features, and we're going to look at some of the more sort of in-depth ones on this and talk about many of the other ones too. So Brent, dive in. What we're going to look at first.
So the first thing that we're looking at is the arranger track, and basically the addition to the arranger track is you now have the ability to do things in a live scenario. So previously you could have went on the arranger track and moved things around or added them to a scratch pad, but now you can do them on the fly in a live scenario. So before you even jump the gun and go, oh, I want to try this out here, you can just try it by clicking. I'll show you how you do that. So if you're playing a section, it does it all in a synchronized manner, and you can adjust the synchronicity here. So I've got 1, 2, 4 bars, so you can just turn that off, and that just keeps it locked into the tempo map that you have assigned in the software. So I'll play this, and I'll jump to the chorus. And as you can see, it jumped from the intro there to the chorus, and I also have it on loop to follow mode. So it would just loop this section. So essentially, in the past, when I wanted to maybe try out a different arrangement, I would do it in a scratch pad, and then it might not even end up using that arrangement. But now I can decide before actually moving anything what kind of arrangement I want to do using the arranger.
So how did you jump? That's the question I think most people watching this would. So you played the intro bit we saw at the start.
Yep.
Then you basically told it to ignore the whole middle section.
Exactly.
How did you do that? Is that a set of keystrokes?
No, it's even easier than that. You literally just double click the section of the arranger that you want to jump to, and you can also do it using the Studio One remote app on iOS or Android. So it is really easy. I'm just double clicking the section that I want it to go to, and then it just followed it with a bar of synchronization, but you can turn it off.
So if you put that to 2 bars and then double click, it'll play up to the next 2 bars and then jump.
Yeah, it's really well synchronized.
Let's see that then. It kind of makes sense now.
Sure, yeah, I'll do it again. So I was at the end of the bar measure there, but sometimes it'll take longer depending on whereabouts you are. So
I was going to say, why don't you click instantly the minute you start it playing, and let's see what happens.
So there was the 2-bar measure.
Yeah.
So it really is accurate.
But that, I suppose you could choose that live, couldn't you?
Exactly. Yeah, that actually comes into play later on in the show page, because they've also added this feature to the show page, which is probably where it might be even more interesting for live looping scenarios. But yeah, really great update to the arranger there. And I think a lot of people will enjoy that benefit before they make adaptations in scratch pads or in the session they're in.
So, and as I say, you'll show us in the show page afterwards. But I'm guessing that, let's say you wanted to repeat a chorus 1,000,000 times live because the crowd are going wild. Let's sing it one more time. You could just keep double clicking on the chorus and it would keep playing it.
You could do that for sure, but also there's been some new additions to the modes in which the arranger track works, and particularly like you're saying in a live scenario in the show page, you could basically set it to loop to follow mode, where it'll just loop until you tell it to stop, basically. So yeah, exactly, for that sort of, if you got the energy there, you can just keep it going as long as you want.
How cool is that? That's quite cool. But that's even, as I say, in the studio it's cool, where you go, let's just try an idea, and you could just click anyway. So you could have clicked the verse and it would have jumped to the verse instead.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is great, because rather than just trying something out and actually adapting your session, you can just play it by ear first and see if it actually works.
And you could have clicked around, so once it played that chorus, then you could have clicked back to verse, and then it would have jumped back to the verse and played that after 2 bars.
Exactly, yeah. So I could go here and then I'll go there. I'll demonstrate that now. I've got the chorus. So as you can see, I can jump around the arrangement in whatever way I want it. There's no restrictions at all.
How cool is that?
Yeah, it's great.
Cool.
It's really good.
That's cool, isn't it, PJ?
Very cool, yeah. Have you worked much with the patches? Because you can create custom patches that allow you to assign certain presets to scenes.
Yeah, I've done that in the show page. I think that's exclusive to the show page for the patches,
right?
Well, for individual.
Cool. We'll get to that in a while. Yeah. So that's first one in this part of Studio One 5.2. That feature's called again?
So that's the live arranger.
The Live Arranger. It sounds a bit like the Lone Arranger. Sounds like a superhero. It's time for Live Arranger. What's the next thing then?
So next so I'm focusing on the song view here, and we'll finish off with the show.
Yeah, cool.
But
yeah,
basically now we have some new additions mainly for composers in the Notion or the score view for drummers, for guitarists and string players, and also there's some addition of voices. So I'll show you here. We have a drum track, and now we have custom some custom score view for drums. So I'm not a drummer, but I'm looking at this and I'm pretty sure it's correct looking at all of the note values for the heads. And basically I was in the MIDI roll here. We also have the drum step sequence view, and I've gone into the score view, and we now have a new track tab, and essentially you just set up drum set mode, which actually did default because it detected that this was a drum virtual instrument.
Oh, really? How cool is that?
And then I just assigned the MIDI mapping as well to give it some more accuracy. And yeah, now there's a custom staff specifically for drums. So like I said, I'm not a drummer, but I know these represent hi-hats.
That's drum transcription.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Cool.
pretty accurate. In fact, I think it's 100% accurate. And often that's the issue with transposing MIDI into score view, is it just doesn't pick up the note values correctly. But this looks absolutely spot on. And there was no effort here on my behalf at all.
So simple a drummer could use it.
Yeah. Might have to edit that. No, yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely.
Yes, yeah, fantastic. Right, so drummers have got a score view now.
Yeah,
so
and
drum notation.
As a guitarist, I love this new feature, which is now the tablature. So in the past, I've used, I think it was Guitar Pro, but now in Studio One, we also have a tab view. So same thing. Here's the MIDI track, but I've gone into the score view. And you can have this in a number of different ways. You can do standard notation, or you can just do tablature, or you can do them together. And then there's the drum set stuff as well. So to have them together like that, I can see this being quite beneficial for tutors and educators who are teaching maybe I remember in classroom scenarios, some people can read, some people just can not, and they can read tablature. So having that ability might be really good for educators and tuition.
Very good. That's very cool. So that's tablature view.
That's
so
tablature.
There's another view as well.
The last thing is basically there is the voice mode here, and you can have up to 4 voices per part. Sort of reminds me of doing Bach chorales back in A level. But basically you can basically come up with more sophisticated parts now than you could previously. So this guitar part here has got 2-point unison. I'm just putting it in octaves, but previously you couldn't do this in the score view in Studio One. So there's 3 features there being added to the notation. We've got the drum track view, the guitar and the tablature modes, and we have this double voice mode, which can go up to 4 voices. And also, if you click on the tab type, we don't just have guitar, we've got guitar and drop D, open D, 7-string bass. As you can see, there's quite a list of different tab types available here.
Ukulele.
If you felt so inclined, I guess
If
you could.
if you need to write some music for an Apple ad, then there we go. Yeah.
Exactly. So there is a lot of
Absolutely.
options. It's brilliant. I think the tab thing will be really picked up well by a lot of users. So some brilliant
Is there
additions.
a cowbell tab?
Um,
It's just got 4 crotchets in it.
There's not. I bet you there is in drum view. I bet there's something there for a cowbell, but maybe not in this bit.
Good. Right. What we got next then?
So here we are in the show page, and there's been some additions here that we've seen previously in the song view, such as the Live Arranger, and it's took that even further by using patches in the Live Arranger. And I'm going to show you what it means. So here's the track that I had in the song view, but now using the Live Arranger, I can basically set up the song in this set list, and I can make changes in the patches for, say, a virtual instrument. So here I have an instance of Arturia Analog Lab, and at the intro, verse, and chorus, it changes automatically to different patches, it sort of means I don't need to have 3 instances of a virtual instrument set up. I can just do it all on one. So as you can see, got something different for the intro, the verse, and the chorus, which is really, really cool. And this all is represented really well in the performance mode as well, which I'll show in just a second. There's also the chord track here as well. So as you can see, it's got the chords from the actual track. And this basically is going to be a bit of a game changer for people who are working in a live scenario. So say, for example, you're an MD in a theatre band or any kind of band scenario, you can let people take control on the Studio One remote app and have their own individual control of their own individual patches and instruments. And you can see the chords playing along in real time for the different sections of the arranger. So no more playing wrong chords.
So they'd be on their iPad remote, yeah?
Yeah,
And
iPad or iPhone, I believe.
And then they could do that, so they could have let's say, playing through Ampire and some effects, and they could actually do their changes from their own, but it wouldn't affect your changes.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. The Ampire is, I suppose, it's just like the analog lab I have loaded up, but suppose you wanted a clean sound for your intro and then a dirty sound for your verse, you can have that all preset up, and you can also change that and modify it as you go along. So you can have a pedal board essentially on your tablet in front of you.
How cool is that? And in terms of synths, if there's 2 or 3 synth players, they could all be playing different soft synths at the same time.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. So
and
you could
controlling
have
them.
multiple ones set up, and each individual player could take control of on their iPhone or their iPad or Android phone. And it works extremely well. It's amazing how it changes on the fly. I'll play through a section here. So if I go from the start of the song, you'll hear this. And this is the sound currently on Analog Lab. And then it'll change here. Also helps if you're a good keys player. But as you can
say, it doesn't auto-tune on the fly, does it?
That's coming in the next update, I hope.
Yeah, 5.3.
It's that.
Anyway,
I'll have to
never work with kids or animals. Yeah.
Anyway, if you are a good player, that's a good position to start. But as you can see, it changed
brilliant.
patch on the fly, and then when I got the chorus, it was going to change to something else. But I don't think anyone needs to hear any more of that.
No. And so we see the chords under the verse. What about under the chorus? When do the chords appear there? Do they appear on? Have you just set that on that part of the track?
Yeah, I've just set it up for the verse. But basically,
Okay.
that section was, I brought this from the song into the show page, and in the song view, I had set up the chords for the verse. But if I'd set it up for the chorus and the intro, I would also have the chords for that. But just for demonstrative purposes, you can see it here. When this seems to come into a really presentational manner is in the performance view. If you can see here, I have all the macros lined out for the different tracks and the different players, but you can also still see the arranger tab at the top and all of the chords as well. Yeah, so you can basically play along in time with the track and also control your macros for your instrument, which I've got pre-mapped, and see your chords. So that's the view you'll be looking at if you're using Studio One Remote.
Oh, is that right? I was going to say, what do people see on their remotes?
Exactly, yeah. So they basically see a sort of a lighter version of the performance view in show mode. And yeah, it shows you your arranger, shows you your chords. You can control your patches. And like I said, you can take individual control of your patches and not mess with, say, someone else's track, but all be on one system.
One question to cut it out, because I was thinking that's a car crash waiting to happen. Who has transport control? Just the master machine?
I think you can dictate who, but I believe, for example, if it was me and they were all on Wi-Fi system using Studio One Remote, it would just be me who has control over the transport controls.
Of the actual song playback?
Exactly, yeah.
Because that could be very messy, couldn't it?
Oh, it could be, yeah, for sure.
What's this button do?
Mid-song. Yeah, but some really great additions. And again, that live arranger, by the way, works exactly the same here as it did in the song view. So if I was to either do it in the performance window or in the show page view here, same thing. I can jump to different sections. And there's also 5 different play modes for each arranger section. Stop at end, loop and continue, and skip after playback to the next section. So
you really can live just move around the song.
Exactly, but also it's turning into a looper now as well. It's not just a performance tool, so I could just loop this entire section if I was really feeling it. And again, you can control the arranger from a remote, so you don't have to go out and buy like a fancy MIDI controller. You can do this all just from the Studio One remote and say, okay, I want to go to the verse now, loop that until you decide you want to change.
As long as you've got an iOS or Android device.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess most people do.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah.
Does that looping functionality allow you to map out a particular set and then choose sections that you feel are best placed to go a bit free?
So you would be able to loop, for example, the verse here, and it would loop around the different patches for the instruments of this section. But do you mean like variations of that section, PJ?
Yeah, so you're telling yourself after the verse and chorus, loop this section for 4 bars, and then go on to the next session and loop indefinitely, and then that's when you can start to go a bit free.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you could essentially tell this section, and you can set this up beforehand. You want it to loop at the end, or you want it to loop and continue to the next section, and then it could just loop that section infinitely. So you have a lot of control over the arrangement, even if it's set in stone. With a backing track like this, you can actually change the arrangement completely, double length of the track, and like Russ was saying before, if someone's loving the chorus, just keep it going.
And is it the person that has master controls the loop functionality, or is that individuals on their own remote?
I believe, again, it goes back to the master computer. So I think if it was you using an iOS device and you were the person who also was the master controller, I believe you could do it from the iOS device, because, again, you get that performance view, and here you can see the different sections. You can also see them in a bigger fashion here, so controls, but if I go into this section, you can see them in really, really big letters. So that's how you can imagine pressing them like that on an iOS device.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And again,
because you don't want to hit the wrong thing, do you?
Exactly, yeah. So all of that can be done either iOS or Android or in the software here, but the arrangement is mainly in control of the master controller, and then you have your own individual patches that you can control and change.
Right then, what's next?
Let me just
check. To PJ, I think, isn't it?
I think so. I think that's me.
PJ, we can't do this because we haven't got a live scenario here, but just talk about there's some new changes to the Access workspace from browser stuff, isn't there? Do you want to talk us through those?
So it was a number one request from PreSonus Sphere customers that they've now addressed in this latest update. In the PreSonus Sphere tab in the Access Workspaces, you can access Workspaces, from your browser. And this is helpful in being able to transfer your projects from one particular instance of Studio One to another, or collaborating with other artists and musicians and producers. As I said,
so there's none of this Dropbox you track and then I put some guitars on it and then you send it to Brent and he puts the keyboards on and we don't even know what version's going around. All that's kind of circumvented with this process, correct?
And it's just built in direct from the browser, where you can access locally and obviously in the cloud your own workspace, your own projects.
Other big news is 5.2 is compatible with Silicon ARM processors in Rosetta 2 compatibility mode. So it's not native yet. That will be coming later this year, but you can happily now install this on an M1 Mac. In fact, I've been running Studio One on an M1 Mac since the day they came out, and they've never had a problem. So it's just nice to know that if there was any stuff I didn't find, they've ironed that out. So that's good. You can buy one with confidence, guys. As well, there's improved tempo detection, isn't there? So if you have an audio loop that doesn't have tempo information in the file, then Studio One 5.2 has a better job of figuring out what the tempo is in that. So that's useful. And there's now a new tempo approval option in the Event Inspector, so you can tell it whether it's playing it at half tempo when it should be double tempo, or correct tempo. So you can confirm that in the browser, which is in the Event Inspector. Now the splitter, which has always been really powerful, is even more powerful in this version, isn't it?
Yeah. So now you can have splitter as an insert, as its own plugin, and basically the main advantage of this is you can easily see which channels are using parallel processing just from looking through your console. So as you can see, the splitter has a different icon to the usual on-off button. And if I load it up here, I can, use the splitter as we've seen it used in the past, but it just makes it a bit of an enhanced view here in the mix window to be able to see what is actually going in your processing chain. Like all the other plugins with its drop-down menu, you don't even have to go into the plugin. You can control the parallel levels just like this here. You don't actually have to open the plugin. So it is much better view to see that, I think, rather than, like you're saying, it was a little bit hard to dive into menus for it before.
So the next thing, PJ, there's some additions for Revelator microphone owners, isn't there?
Yes, so anyone that's purchased the Revelator microphone will now get access to the plugins built into Studio One.
That's really cool. So if they're using them on the mic, when they open that, so what happens is when you open the session, do the plugins appear on that session that you've been using, and then you can mess with them again, or do you know how that works?
I think it's available for you to map the preset settings that you use on the mic into the session that you're using.
Fine. So those plugins are now, if you've got Revelator mic, you can now see them within a session and a song, which is really quite cool. All in all, 30 new features, I think they said, haven't they?
Yeah.
You got any favourites, Brent?
Ooh, the notation views are great, and the live arranger, I can see myself using that a lot. But for me, it's got to be the show page again, because when they introduced that last year in version 5, I thought, there's going to be a lot of updates here that'll make this great, and it seems like they're definitely continuing with the theme of making the show page equally as good as the song page.
PJ, have you got a favourite feature?
Yeah, having played with many bands live in electronic music scene, is to be able to use the show page to actually move between song structures and sort of do it on the fly, so to speak, is a really cool feature, and I'm looking forward to getting stuck more into that.
Yeah, I think Live Arranger is a brilliant idea. I say both for live and for in the studio. I think that's a really, really cool feature. That it's one of those ones you probably wouldn't have ever thought of saying, "Can you do this?" And then, but they've done it, and now you think, "Yeah, that's really cool." That you can quickly, as I say, say, "Let's see how that song would sound like that," without having to mess around with moving all the song parts around again. So I think that's the one that gets the big thumbs up from all three of us, isn't it? That's kind of star feature of this release. Anyway, thanks for watching.